What is up, guys? Welcome back to CageChat MMA. We're here for the UFC 271 live preview. Of course, it is a hour and a half late. I do apologise, maybe even 2 hours late at this point. But we're going to preview 271, where obviously we've got Robert Whittaker looking to get back his UFC middleweight crown off of Israel Adesanya, the man who took it from him at UFC 243 3 years ago now. Well, almost 3 years ago now, back in 2019 at UFC 243. I have to firstly apologise. We've had some technical issues, PC wise, with getting this live, etc. So some upgrades coming soon, hopefully. But I thought this was an important event, not to be speaking about. So we've been sat here waiting and trying to get these rectified so we can preview UFC 271, where it's a massive night of fights. We've got, Israel Adesanya, the middleweight king, didn't have the best of 2021s, of course. Maybe in the fact that he made a defense of his middleweight championship, but he did go up to light heavyweight to challenge Jan Blachowicz, and unfortunately came away unsuccessful. And that's given, fighters and fans, maybe that there is a blueprint to beat Stylebender. Of course, that was his first professional loss in mixed martial arts, and obviously Robert has come out, in the build up to this, saying I've got the blueprint now from Jan Blachowicz to beat Israel Adesanya. Obviously, when these two fought. Robert Whittaker came out, I think, prior to that fight with Darren Till. And in the build-up to that fight with Darren Till, he came out and admitted, that there was some, there was some mental issues going at play. He was training every single day, burning himself out, thinking he had to push himself. There was some extra added pressure of being champion that, was taken off his shoulders at UFC 243. And probably for the better for him, because obviously, if you listen to the likes of Rose Namajunas, they say when they become champion for that first time, it is a added pressure. There's more media, there's more attention on you, there's more, everyone wants to get a piece of you almost. So you are a lot busier person when you get that crown. Obviously, as a challenger, and you're building up until you become a title challenger, or you're someone who's exceptionally well responded to by fans, like a Jorge Masvidal, like a Carver Compton, a Nate Diaz, a Dustin Poirier, someone of that nature, a Max Holloway I'd put in there, who can do, who gets that media presence, who gets that sort of, element of extra push when it comes to promotion. They see that side of things, but if you're a ranked guy or you're someone on the come up as a contender, you don't really get that as much. So it can be a big shift from challenger to champion. We've seen it with Israel Adesanya. He seems like he's taken that championship step, in his stride. He doesn't seem too phased by it. He seems to be quite well rounded and well looked after by the people in his camp. And that's reflected in his fights. He's won all but one of his fights. Won all but one of his fights in mixed martial arts. He's still 33, still in his prime. He's got a long way to go, of course, in his career. And tonight's going to be a good marker. One, how Israel Adesanya, I guess, has improved, and is he still the king at 185? And how has Robert Whittaker, changed since 243? Of course, we've seen his 3 fights against Jared Cannonier, Calvin Gastelum, and Darren Till. And the way he had that fight with Darren Till was spectacular. The way he just, there was a chess match between the two. I remember the talk after in the cage after the fight of them almost laughing and joking about going which one was going first and not knowing who's going first. And it became a bit of a chess battle. With Jared Cannonier and Calvin Gastelum, it was a much more rounded fight from, Robert Whittaker. There was no sort of questions or sort of, did he win this, did he win that? Obviously, he's won all 3 of that unanimous decision. And, he's gone, he's done 3 rounds with Cannonier, but, he's done 10 rounds with the other 2. So he's gotten 13 rounds in total on his last 3 fights. There's been no health issues, really. And he's really shown that he's the number one in this fight, whereas, they said in the press conference, I think it was Robert Whittaker said, we are number 1 and 2. And you have to agree, they are convincingly number 1 and 2. And we've seen that with Israel Adesanya, that says Vettori and Costa, and we've seen that with Robert Whittaker against Calvin Gastelum and Cannonier. And we've also seen it with Israel Adesanya versus Derrick Brunson, although that's a longer period of time between the fight. So it'd be interesting to see how Derrick Brunson fares up tonight against Jared Cannonier. So it is a really interesting fight, and I think, again, referring to the first fight, Robert Whittaker has said, Israel Adesanya got in my head, he pushed me a bit too far, he made it personal, or Robert Whittaker made it personal in his own head. And this time it's a competition for him, so who best man wins. And it's going to be interesting to see the different game plan that Robert Whittaker brings in tonight, especially being the hunter. I think he's thriving off this hunter sort of period rather than being the hunted. Similar how Rose Namajunas dealt with Zhang Weili when she came back to get the title. I think there's an element of similarity between both those two. They're both well liked. They're both very well rounded fighters. They can do it on the floor. They can strike. They both got incredible heart and determination to win. And I think it's just the question is, how good is Israel Adesanya? We know he's good, but is he just that little bit better in this weight class? And the fact that he's fighting guys his own weight and not a Jan Blachowicz who once he's rehydrated another 15, 20 pounds heavier than Adesanya is on fight night. Of course, as Adesanya, the game plan, quote unquote, is to take him down, but he has got a very good takedown defense in the middleweight division. The Tory tried it, Paulo Costa tried it, although Paulo Costa's more striking orientated. Gastelum obviously gave them his toughest fight to date, outside of the Jan Blachowicz fight, but definitely in the middleweight division. Kelvin Gastelum gave this toughest fight to date back at 236. If you remember, that was an absolute war, and I think, if we're looking tonight, I think we're going down that route of it could be a war, it could be a 5-round war, it could be one of those ones we're going to the 5th round and go, it's 2 rounds each here, whoever takes this one, whoever wants to go and delve deepest inside themselves is going to take the fight, and we know that Israel Adesanya's got that in him, we know that Robert Whittaker's got that in him with the 2 fights against Yoel Romero. He's got that ability to just grind it and ground a victory out. But let's have a look at the tail. Obviously 21-1 versus 24-5. The 4-inch height advantage and the 6.5 reach advantage there does put Adesanya in good stead tonight. How is Robert Whittaker going to overcome that for a second time? Again, he's got a more wrestling based game plan by the sounds of it. Of course, there's a 1.5 reach leg reach for Adesanya, which of course as a kickboxer he's going to benefit from. And everyone's going to Jan Blachowicz sort of Adesanya as the game plan. Personally, I'd be looking at Michael Chandler, Dan Hooker now. I know Dan Hooker and Adesanya, all 4 names that I've mentioned there are very different fighters. But when you got a kickboxer, when you got someone who's a bit taller than you, I think the best way to come in there is maybe, we saw with Michael Chandler and Dan Hooker, he used that lower stance. He sat there and he waited, and he almost, walked. He walked Dan Hooker into the edge of the cage and then came over with the overhand left that knocked him down and eventually got Michael Chandler, the win on his UFC debut. I can see Robert Whittaker trying that sort of game plan because, I think a lot of times with Adesanya, he's very good at, evading shots and he's got a fantastic defense, but sometimes he can leave his chin in the air. And if you can, not get that first on him, but you're aiming to land with the second strike that you throw, I think maybe you can upset that rhythm. And I think you can push up Adesanya against the cage, especially with the wrestling, maybe with the threat of the wrestling even, going in for singles or doubles here and there by the cage. And then, maybe the third time, try twice, almost feint it twice, and meaning it not to work. And then third time, you tempt the takedown, but actually you come up over the top with the other hand left or other hand right, depending on where you are in the cage. I think Robert Whittaker could see success there. And I think that's a better way of beating Adesanya than trying to keep him down on the ground. But I'm sure we'll find out later on, but we will find out, of course, tonight in the main event. Of course, I'm an Israel Adesanya fan. Probably my favourite fighter in the UFC. He's a fantastic guy. He speaks well. He's quite humorous. He doesn't take himself too seriously, which is enjoyable. I think that's what people have distasted with McGregor. He takes himself too seriously these days. Whereas Adesanya is still that fun sort of reputable fighter that you can get behind and enjoy it as you can with the holistic kickboxing with Dan Hooker, Blood Diamond, who just got submitted tonight, fighting on Carlos Ulberg. That sick kickboxing family. I don't even want to call it team. It's not a team. It's a family with Eugene Behrman at the helm. They're created where they all almost fight together. They live and die together. It'd be interesting to see how Blood Diamond's loss tonight plays on Adesanya and Ulberg's minds going into their fights. But I think, I do think Adesanya's going to win. I think it's going to be a 5-rounder. I think it's going to be a fantastic fight. and I think Adesanya comes away with a decision win. But I can see that it's going to be a closer fight than the second one. I can see ways that Whittaker are going to win again. Like I said, I'd be looking at Michael Chandler, Dan Hooker fight and going, maybe we can try something here. Obviously, no, Dan Hooker and Adesanya are not, quote unquote, equivalent fighters or fight styles. But I think there's something there where you try and push him up against the cage, try and almost, hunt him down, I guess is the right, for want of a better phrase. Hunt Adesanya down and maybe try and get that overhand right or that overhand left and see if you can connect with him while he's got his chin exposed or his back or leaned away as he usually does. And yeah, I think there might be something there. But let's have a look at the rankings, of course, because obviously we have got Derek Brunson and Cannonier going on tonight. But should Adesanya beat Whittaker, it's going to be interesting to see who they pick next. If Jared Cannonier wins, you'd expect him to fight Cannonier. Got Sean Strickland, and he could obviously potentially make the Derek Brunson rematch. Obviously, Jack Hermansson, Darren Till, both coming off losses. Paulo Costa and Vettori coming off losses. Well, actually, no, Vettori, coming off losses to Adesanya, but Vettori, has that win over Paulo Costa, so he's back in the win column. So it'd be interesting. I'd imagine if Jared Cannonier wins tonight, he gets the next title shot, and then you probably make either Tory Brunson or either Tory Whittaker, something along those lines. Or you make a Sean Strickland, Paulo Costa, and you start building it up that way. But yeah, the middleweight division is a bit of a sticky situation because we have got a quite dominant champion. Of course, if Whittaker wins tonight, you're probably going to be guaranteed a trilogy match between Adesanya and Whittaker, of course. And there's been a lot of talk at the moment, primarily from Ali Abdelaziz, about the potential of Kamaru Usman going up. Now, both Kamaru Usman and Adesanya both said that they're never going to fight each other because of their close relationship. Obviously, both from Nigeria, both holding belts, and they both, come out and said multiple times it's better that two of us hold the belt than just one hold two belts. But again, you never know. This is the fight game, and sometimes the fight game changes. And it would be an interesting fight to see Usman go up to 185 and test himself for that legacy. Obviously, he's being highly compared with George St. Pierre at the moment, and obviously GSP did walk away with that 185-pound title after beating Bisping, of course. And if this man wants to go down one of the greatest, you almost have to. And it was interesting to see that he said he was looking at thinking of going to Jan Blachowicz instead, because of the matchup and because of that champ status that everyone wants to be going for these days. But yeah, with the main event, I have to back Israel Adesanya, but again, there's no bad blood. I like Robert Whittaker. He's been very funny on the Embedded series. He's a gamer himself. And he's a very calm, cool, collected individual. I'd be interested to see what he's like in the cage tonight. As is Derrick Lewis. I'm quite interested in this one. This one is, for me, is more of a harder fight to predict. In result, I think, you can definitely say it's going to be done within one round, but it's going to be who gets the hand raised. Now, if you remember, Derrick Lewis lost his fight at UFC 265 against Cyril Gane for the interim heavyweight title, and he was in the exact same building, the exact same arena, and of course on the day that he got released from jail. Before he started fighting with the UFC, and I believe before he started MMA even. But of course, how is that going to fare him? He's come out and said, he put too much pressure on himself for 265 in his home crowd, title on the line. The date in particular meaning a lot to him, and it's gonna be interesting to see how he reacts to that tonight. Is he gonna be a lot calmer? He looked great against Chris Daukaus in the Apex. Is he someone that just can't really put it together under a lot of pressure, a bit like a Donald Cerrone maybe? And Donald Cerrone gets that sort of push and narrative that once the bright lights come on, he crumbles. And how does Tai Tuivasa deal with that? It's a big jump for Tai Tuivasa, who's just knocked out Augusto Sakai, but the fact that he's coming in against a number 3 ranked competitor, coming off the back of 4 wins against Stefan Struve, Harry Hansucker, Greg Hardy, and Sakai. A win tonight for him puts him in title contention, which is absolutely bonkers. And my problem with the heavyweight division at the moment is you can't slowly build yourself, because Francis Ngannou has beat not Derrick Lewis, but he's beat Curtis Blades, he's beat Cyril Gane, now he's beat a lot of that division already. So you're looking at Tom Aspinall, you're looking at the Tai Tuivasas of this world to get wins and almost rushing them too quickly. So it's an interesting one, My main question is, does Derrick Lewis come out too aggressive to try and rectify what happened at 265? Does he almost come out with the same nature about him that he's, the pressure does get too much on him. He seems very calm this week going into fight night. He was making jokes all fight week on the embedded. He looked insanely great at a press conference, and of course both these two have almost made a gentleman's agreement to stand and bang. So I doubt this is going beyond beyond 1 round even. But and again, Tai Tuivasa is one of those who is a brawler, is a fighter. He got cut from the UFC after that surgery, split that loss. But obviously they rebrought him back in October 2020. He's looked fantastic, but he does like a brawl. We saw it against Greg Hardy. Both of them hurt each other. It was just that Tai Tuivasa knocked Greg Hardy down. And I think, if Derrick Lewis is in the position Greg Hardy was and connects with Tai Tuivasa, I think that's all she wrote, unfortunately. And I think it's an interesting one. It's one of those of who lands first, I think. Because as soon as someone lands, I think it's game over. And I'm more edging towards a Derrick Lewis landing than I am Tai Tuivasa, just because I think, it is a big jump up for Tai Tuivasa, and it's also one of those ones where I think Tai Tuivasa has almost got nothing to lose in a sense. In a sense that he is a well-rounded, liked fighter, as is Derrick Lewis. They're both loved fighters and competitors. But I think, Derrick Lewis, again, there's a pressure on him and an expectation of him to perform better in Houston than he did the last time. But let's have a look at the tape. Of course, 26-8 against 14-3. 6-3 versus 6-2. Both of them came in just on that limit. 4-inch reach advantage, funnily enough, for Lewis, which could be interesting. And a significantly long leg reach as well. So we know what the Black Beast can do. He's very explosive. He can land those right, uppercuts as we saw against Curtis Blades. He can push up against the fence. He can land high kicks. But also so can Tai Tuivasa. They're very sort of similar heavyweights in the fact that, despite their size and their appearance, they are very athletic. They are very technical. They are very, powerful in their striking as well. So I do think it's an interesting fight. But let us know your thoughts down in the comments down below. And of course, let us know what you think going into the fight. Of course, I do think I edge towards a Tai Tuivasa upset, to be honest. But yeah, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. And of course, we have got the middleweight contest between Jared Cannonier and Derek Brunson. Derek Brunson on somewhat the resurgence at the moment in the middleweight division. Of course, he submitted Darren Till last year, but he's on a 5-fight win streak now, beating Darren Till, Kevin Holland, Edwin Shabazz, Ian Einish, and Elias Theodorou. So since that loss to Israel Adesanya, he's on a 5-fight win streak, and an impressive 5-fight win streak. Especially, Kevin Holland was a up-and-coming name, someone that fans were getting to love, due to his in-ring antics and his talking inside the octagon. But, he submitted Darren Till pretty convincingly, using his wrestling once again, and becoming, he's becoming a new version of himself. He's, 38 years of age. A lot of people are writing him off as someone who is the one, close to getting to retirement, sort of. He was in that bracket of maybe he should be retiring soon because he wasn't getting the results his way. But he's turned it around. He's gone back to his more natural style of wrestling, taking you down. He's going to pressurize you, and then he's going to hopefully submit you like he did Darren Till. He finished Edmund Shabazian, although I think Edmund Shabazian shouldn't be getting fights like Derek Brunson and Jack Hermanson just yet because he's only 23 years of age, although he earned his spot in the rankings. I think he got pushed over the edge a little bit too far. But yeah, and also Derek Brunson's at Sanford MMA at the moment. It's a fantastic gym. He's really come alive under Henry Heath and the coaching he's had at Sanford MMA as well. But let's have a look at the tape. 14-5 against 23-7, 5-11 versus 6-1. It's crazy that Cannonier was once a heavyweight, wasn't he? He's come all the way down from 250, 265. I don't know what he was at heavyweight in his weighing days, but he came down to light heavyweight. Now he's come down to 185 and kept that power, and he's been looking absolutely phenomenal. Only a half an inch reach advantage, but there's a inch and a half leg reach advantage there for Brunson also. So it is a really even contest, and it's one of these fights that both of them on their night are fantastic to watch, but sometimes, they can be quite cerebral in the sense that if their mind's not in the fight and they have a bad day in the office, it can come undone pretty quickly. Jared Cannonier certainly hits harder than Brunson. I think if he connects, I think Brunson's going to be in trouble. But I also think Cannonier, should he not turn up and not want to, get into the danger of where he could be risking getting taken down. I think Brunson could have an equally as interesting night as Cannonier. It's a really tough fight to predict. Cannonier also, last win was in August against Kelvin Gastelum, decision win. Prior to that, lost to Whittaker, which is no shame. But he's got wins over Anderson Silva and Jack Hermanson, David Brunson. Obviously, the Anderson Silva one who was booed out of Brazil after the leg injury to Anderson Silva, of course. So he's one of those, he's 4-1 in the middleweight division, which is interesting to see and what he's got planned. But I do think I edge towards Derrick Brunson tonight, to be honest. I think he's certainly in a rich form at the moment. I think that's going to continue for a little while. So yes, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below for Derrick Brunson and Jared Cannonier. Let us know your thoughts, of course, for the main event. Is it going to be Alan Silva and new Israel Adesanya versus Robert Whittaker 2? We will be back for the review tomorrow, of course. Make sure to give this video a like. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. We'll be doing a lot more in the upcoming days and weeks, of course, with 271 recaps, etc. So yeah, make sure to stick around. Go follow us on social media at CageChat MMA on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and now TikTok. And we will see you guys on the next video.